Welcome to the Steve Stine Guitar Podcast, brought to you by guitar-zoom.com. If you want to improve your guitar playing, keep listening. If you want to improve even faster, go to guitar-zoom.com, where you'll find all of Steve's premium courses, masterclasses, and memberships that'll help you quickly and easily improve your playing. Now here's your host, Steve Stine.
You know, I've got this Kemper that I use for a lot of my tones, Dan. And there's a tone on there that is like a Dr. Z, but it reminds me of like an Andy Timmons or kind of Eric Johnson-y tone.
Yeah.
I just love the sound of it. It's a lot of fun to play.
Are you playing through the Kemper right now?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because like with playing, it's so easy to be inspired by a tone, and then you just start playing and kind of go with it, which is so great.
Super cool. Hey guys, thanks for joining us.
Hey Paul, Rusty, Eric, Stephen Bell is back. Bucket full of balls. Peekaboo, he says. Greetings, Jack Waters. How you guys doing?
Hey guys, thanks for joining us. As you're piling in here, tell us where you're from. That'd be awesome.
All right. Alex is here. Pete is here. White Rabbit is here. 07 Gaming. Vienna. All right. Germany. UK.
You know what would be so cool is if there was like a map or something we could see where everybody is. That would be so cool. Snowy Minnesota. Snowing already in Minnesota, October. Wow.
We got 4 inches yesterday. I think they got 7 inches.
Wow.
We have a snowstorm again tomorrow and then again on Sunday.
Wow. Russell Roy from Denver. Where are you in Denver, Russell? I used to live in Denver. Just curious. Buckinghamshire. Rotterdam. I don't know. I'm speaking in that. Rotterdam.
Norway.
This is so cool.
Germany.
All right, guys. Thanks for showing up today. Super cool to be with you again for another session of Essential Techniques. Today is our last and final workshop that we're doing together, at least for this particular topic of Essential Techniques. This is the 5th, I believe, workshop that we've done.
That's right.
On Essential Techniques.
That's right.
The first one we did is Feel the Rhythm. Second one we did is Picking Perfection. The third is Playing Songs. The fourth is Creative Soloing. And today we're going to do a big old session on question and answer. Everything that you want to know about technique. And while I'm getting my act together here, Steve, I was going to ask them to give us the link to the playlist in case you guys missed any of the previous ones. You can go and check out all the workshops are going to be on the GuitarZoom YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube, type in GuitarZoom, click on the GuitarZoom YouTube channel, and click on playlists. And then under the playlist, you'll find all of the previous sessions that we've done, because all of these have been live. And then you'll be able to check out the one that we're doing today. Guys, if you want to learn essential techniques, if you want to improve your playing on a fundamental level, and regardless of what style you are, and really regardless of what your current skill set is, Steve has a new course for you. It's called Essential Techniques by Steve Stine, and it's available at guitar-zoom.com. Just go there and click on the big banner at the top, and you can get all the information. There are several fast action bonuses before the introductory price expires, which should be, I think, Monday is the last day. So you get all the bonuses and you get the introductory price if you decide to invest in this course before Monday, October 26th. Cool. And a whole lot of people have already done that. And by the way, guys, if you're here and you're actually already signed up for Essential Techniques, tell us what you want to learn from that course. What's the number one reason you decided to purchase it? And kind of what your goal is to accomplish. Like, what do you want to accomplish with Essential Techniques? And get your questions ready. Everything that we're going to be talking about today in terms of your questions are going to be, if you could keep them directed on technique, and we can talk about, Steve can talk about what that is exactly. That would be super helpful to everybody here. Hopefully everybody can learn some stuff, and you guys can get some value from what we're talking about today. All right, Steve, where do you want to take it from here, my friend?
Well, we'll just start doing some Q&A here. I'm going to throw this up here. I'm not actually going to throw up. I'm going to throw this up here. So I just thought this might help us a little bit. What's your single biggest struggle with guitar? Okay. Now I see we've already got a couple questions about sweep picking. So we'll start with that. I'm just going to answer some questions, and then if we need to go into a bit more detail with some techniques, we can certainly do that. I'm just going to do this before we even start, let you know that, like, I live in North Dakota, so right now it's cold, and it's just going to get colder, and then it'll get brutally cold, and then it'll get deathly cold, and then it'll warm up a little bit by April or May or June.
Wow.
So the first thing I want to explain to all of you, especially like if you're like me, and my circulation isn't as good as it was 20 years ago, right? So one of the most important things that I need to do every single day when I play, and certainly when it gets colder outside, is warm up my hands. So I do a lot of stretching with my hands, and I do a lot of, like, what I do is I squeeze my fingertips and it makes the blood flow to my fingertips. There's all kinds of different things that you can do, but I'm just going to remind you that warming up before you actually practice is a really beneficial thing. Now, you might live in a climate where you really never have to do that. I, unfortunately, do not live in that climate. So stretching, and I had carpal tunnel syndrome with my hands. So stretching, one of the biggest stretches that I love to do is when I put the bottoms of my hands together like this, and I bring them down like this. And then what I do is I push my elbow toward the wall. It's not allowed to come up, though. It's got to stay down. And these are some really great stretches that you can do to stretch out all the muscles that you need for your guitar playing there. You can do these sorts of things, there's all kinds of things. I'm just telling you that, like, for me, dealing with the cold, that's something that I have to deal with a lot living in North Dakota. And so stretching out and warming up your hands is something really important. I actually have a heater right over here that I run. And when I play, when I travel and play, I actually have a little travel heater that I bring and I put on top of my amp. And then I just warm up my hands whenever I need to, run them under warm water, all kinds of different things like that. So
That's crazy.
Yeah. So let me do this. Do you mind if I switch to this, and then you can kind of search for, I'm going to start with the sweeping thing, and then we'll go into whatever questions that you might see there, Dan.
Sure.
Okay.
That'd be cool.
Okay. So when we talk about sweeping, let me first explain to people that maybe don't know what that is. Okay. We have an ability on the guitar to play scales, obviously, but we also have the ability to play what's called arpeggios. Now, an arpeggio is simply the definition is broken chord. So if I took an A minor chord, for instance, and I strum through it, it sounds like I'm playing a chord, because I am. But the difference is that as opposed to a piano, when you can press down on all the notes at the same time, we as guitar players cannot do that. We have to start at whatever string and then push through. And what we do is do it so quickly that the ear perceives it as one sound, a chord. But what we're really doing is playing each string individually. If we slow that down, it becomes what we call an arpeggio. Okay? Now, arpeggios can be played lots of different ways on the guitar, but guitar players learn a technique called sweeping. And so arpeggios and sweeping really are the same thing. The difference is the speed in which you play them. So let me just show you something real quick here, and then I'll show you a couple of techniques, and then we'll move on to some other people as well. So let's say I was going to play an A minor arpeggio. So I go up to A on the 12th fret with my pinky, and I'm going to play 12, and then the next string 10, and the next string 9, and the next string 10. So I'm playing the notes A, C, E, which are the root and third and fifth of A minor, and then I'm playing A, C, and then I'm going to play E again. So I'm making this shape, if you will, that consists of the notes A, C, and E, or the notes of A minor chord. Now, if I play them slow, I can do all kinds of things melodically, and that is what we call an arpeggio. So I can do all kinds of different things. I can play in and out. But more importantly, I can wrap a scale around it. So I can use that arpeggio as part of my solo. Now, if I play it faster, it becomes what we call the sweep. And the sweep is the action of the guitar pick as it pushes through those strings. So if you've never really done sweeping before, let's make this smaller and easier. So I'm going to go to the 9th fret of the 3rd string, the 10th fret of the 2nd string, and the 8th fret of the 1st string. So I have 9, 10, 8. And what I want you to notice here is that as I push through, what I want to do with the guitar pick is have it come to rest on the next string. So I push through, and then push through onto the next string. So the string comes to rest on the next string. And as you get better with this, it's like strumming. So you're not doing this. You're not chicken picking, if you will, where you're picking up the pick like that. You're actually pushing it, forcing the pick through. And you start getting that sound. So it's really like doing, I always think of the song. It's kind of like that, where you're pushing that pick through as opposed to going, something like that. It's impossible to do. So you're pushing that pick through. And so when you start doing sweeping, it's nice to find, a simple way of starting, just a couple of strings or 3 strings, just getting used to that pushing and the synchronization of those 2 hands.
Very cool, dude.
Yeah.
Guys, if you're just now joining us, please let us know if you have a particular question regarding technique, and especially what's your number one struggle that you're having right now with your guitar playing. Today's the Q&A session. It's the last of these 5 sessions that we're doing for you here on Essential Techniques. And if you could, please keep your questions kind of focused on technique. And what I'd like to do, Steve, if it's okay with you, is share the mind map just to kind of go over what techniques are, so we just refresh everybody's mind on kind of what we're talking about here. And when we say technique, because it can mean a lot of things to a lot of different people, right? Let me see if I can share. Guys, let me know if you can see this mind map. This is a behind-the-scenes look of Steve's brain of how he actually creates courses for you. So this is Steve's thing here. It's completely unedited. Well, actually, it originally said Techniques course, and then we just decided to call it Essential Techniques. Other than that, I haven't touched any of this stuff. So you're seeing exactly what Steve wrote here. You may see some spelling errors or whatever, but this is just Steve's quick mind map of how he actually creates courses. So when we're talking about technique, this is what we're talking about. For example, we're talking about chords, open chords, power chords, bar chords, okay? We're talking about rhythm and strumming. So scratching, down and up strumming, patterns versus organic strumming. A lot of these are Steve's particular terminology that he's developed over the years, like the kick and snare strumming or the scratching thing. I know, Steve, is one of your signature things that you do. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. We're also talking about, let's see here, what else? Wow, this thing is difficult to move if you don't zoom out a little bit. Picking hand development. So if you have questions about picking control in terms of styles of picks, how you hold the pick, your pick angle, your motion of movement, down picking, all of these are different topics that are in Steve's new course. Palm muting, alternate picking development, pinch harmonics, string deadening, anything like this, okay? We're also talking about fret hand development, so legato techniques, hammer-ons, pull-offs, those kinds of things. All the soloing things that Steve's already talking to you about. Let's see, we talked about sweep picking a little minute ago. Arpeggios, there's a whole section on arpeggios. So different types of slides, hand synchronization, so like legato versus picking staccato, and all the different types of bends, okay? Vibrato, things like that. That's what we're talking about. When we say technique, that's what we're referring to. And so if you have questions during this session regarding those type of topics, that would be awesome. And also your number one struggle that you're having right now with guitar, we'll try to get to as many of your questions as we possibly can. And if you want to get the course, of course, it's called Essential Techniques by Steve Stine, and it's available at guitarzoom.com right now at the introductory price. Okay, buddy.
Okay, so I see a lot of questions regarding like speed picking and synchronicity and all that kind of stuff, and obviously that's kind of the big stuff, right? And the techniques course goes into all sorts of things like that. But I'm going to remind everybody that has questions about that sort of thing is always remember that you have to, first of all, you have to develop your left and your right hands independently. You've got to learn to gain strength and independence. Strength, speed, stamina are the three things I always think of when you're with the strength of your fingers. They've got to be independent, they've got to be strong, and they've got to be able to work together, right? So when we talk about synchronicity, whether it's speed picking, whether it's, again, sweeping, whatever it might be, everything has to start with individual strength development and then move into slow synchronicity development. So when you start doing something, for instance, with my left hand, it's what I call my fretting hand. This is where all my strength has to come from doing legato exercises. And there's all kinds of them in the course, but understand that when you do legato exercises, the point is you're trying to develop strength within all four fingers and all of their variable combinations. So you can't just practice the same one over and over and over. You've got to learn to, because again, for every guitar player on the planet, these are the ones that are the problem. It's these fingers. These guys really aren't as big of a problem. It's when you start implementing these that you have a problem. So you need to be able to work on different legato techniques to develop all of those combinations. So that's something I do as just a daily routine of practice, is just practicing, the 20-second and 30-second exercises, those sorts of things that are in the course with my fingers. Then I move over here, and I've got some questions I've seen here too.
If you're enjoying this episode and you'd like to support the podcast, go to guitar-Zoom.com and consider becoming a premium member. There are 3 memberships to choose from. VIP, which gives you instant access to a library of short but powerful courses as well as new bite-sized lessons each month. There's also Play Songs that gives you step-by-step lessons so you can learn to play your favorite songs fast. And finally, there's Masterclass, university-level training on everything from soloing to music theory, from blues to home recording. For more info about these memberships and all the premium courses available to you, go to guitar-Zoom.com. Now back to the podcast.
So the most important thing when I start doing picking, whether it's the one that we did earlier in a session, which of course is in the course too, but where I do the 3-minute down picking or the alternate picking, right? As I do those techniques, and if you haven't seen those, you can go back and watch them in the playlist. But as I do those techniques, I'm thinking about relaxing. And again, we talked about using a metronome. We talked about trying to find the ideal speed to do these things at so you can actually do it for 3 straight minutes. But you're developing not only the ability to get stronger and faster, but you're also developing the ability to relax when you play. Because that's one of the big problems is people get so tense when they start doing things. And you can just watch it in their body language when they play. You've got to learn to relax. So when often, or I've seen a number of you ask about palm muting, for instance. Now, palm muting for me is literally taking the karate chop part of my hand and setting it where the string and the bridge meet. But you have to understand that if you're playing a Les Paul, it's going to feel different than it does on this Ibanez Strat style, right? So it can't only be what it feels like, it's got to be what it sounds like. So if I show you, if I go all the way back, too far back, and I start picking, there's no palm muting. If I start moving this way, you can hear that palm mute come into play. I'm not pressing hard, I'm literally just touching the string very gently with this part of my hand. If I move too far over, the string dies. So you've got to explore how it feels on the guitar that you like. If you've got a guitar that you love, you've got to find those sweet spots. And see, there's 2 different palm, for me, there's 2 different palm mute points. There's one that's very light, and there's one where I'm choking up more. So if I was playing heavier, I might want to move up just a little bit more and choke up on that palm mute. As opposed to being back here, where if I was back here, that might be more for like a... So I'm aware of the different sounds that I can get by putting my palm in a different position in terms of the kind of palm mute that I want. So when it comes to four-finger exercises or speed picking exercises like a lot of you are asking about, it all starts with synchronization. You've got to develop the independence in the hands, and then you start practicing. You might put those together and just start practicing again. This is in the course, but you might start practicing just a sequence. And before you ever worry about it getting fast, the first thing you have to do is become comfortable with what that feels like, with what it sounds like. Notice how I can add a little palm mute in if I choose to. But to create that synchronization, it has to start with both of my hands being able to independently function and then becoming friends and actually working together. Because like I've said before, all of these things that we're talking about, you have to remind yourself that your left hand and your right hand really aren't friends with each other. Certainly at the beginning, they're not. They battle each other. If you're trying to make chords and strum at the same time, they're doing two completely different things. And just because you're playing the guitar, I always use the analogy of like a car engine, which I know nothing about. But, you know, we bring it to somebody to fix it and we just assume, you know, well, they have all the answers. They have people that fix certain parts of the engine, right? Or certain different kinds of engines and all these different things, all these different parts that go into it. Well, the guitar has a lot of components to it. The guitar playing has a lot of components to it. So the easiest thing to do, and this is what the techniques course is all about, is trying to get to the rudimentary, the basics of what essentials you need to be able to develop, whether you're speed picking or sweeping or palm muting or whatever it might be, right? So hopefully that kind of answers your questions there.
Wow. There's a ton of questions. Guys, we're trying to keep it focused on techniques. So anything to do with technique, any question you have about technique, and also your number one guitar struggle. Steve, do you want me to feed you some questions, or you have one? Looks like you have one.
I got all kinds here, but let me go through a couple that
Sure.
I see right now. So I see David Thompson says strumming, but that's all he says. But David, what I would do is go back to the first session that we did, the first live session, and we talked all about strumming in that one, and that will help you a little bit without having to take too much of this session. But you know, the most important thing with strumming is you're either coming from one of two places. Either you're developing a strumming pattern, or you're trying to learn how to organically strum to the music that you're listening to. Strumming comes from practicing what I call scratching. Let me shut off my delay and reverb there. And you learn how to add dynamics to that strum. So you learn how to strum down and up independently, allowing the arm to continue moving. And then you start learning to develop dynamics. And I go a lot more into that, Dan and I do, in the first session of these live sessions. So you can find a playlist and go through that.
Yeah, and there's a whole entire section on just strumming and all the different techniques for that in the Essential Techniques course.
That's right.
Hey, I wanted to just mention real quick, Mike, who's helping us with the questions and answers, can you please give them the link to the playlist somehow, which we keep mentioning over and over, and I'm sure people would appreciate just a simple link that they can click on and go see that playlist, and then you can save it in case you missed any of the previous sessions. I was just looking at it. In fact, it's on the GuitarZoom YouTube channel, guys. If you go there to the GuitarZoom YouTube channel and you click on playlists, it's called Essential Techniques Live Guitar Workshop. The first one we did is called Feeling the Rhythm. The second one is Picking Perfection, Playing Songs is the third one. And the fourth one is Creative Soloing. And then today, of course, we're doing kind of all types of different techniques. But all of those workshops are there for you. And each one of them is over an hour long. And hopefully you get a lot of value out of that. And everything that's discussed in those workshops is included in the new course, which is 6.5 hours long. It's called Essential Techniques, and it's available right now at the introductory price, which will be going up. And I do want to mention one other thing about that. Some people had asked about the fast action bonuses on the page for the first 50, first 100, etc. Those were gone the very first day that we launched this course. But I will tell you this: if you decide to go and invest in Essential Techniques during these live sessions, we will personally make sure that you get those fast action bonuses. Okay. And one of them actually is, I just noticed this, is the chord chasing mastery course. You get the entire chord chasing mastery course as a fast action bonus when you get the Essential Techniques course. And if you check it out, the chord chasing course is actually available on our website. It sells every day there. It sells every day for $69. And I was just looking at the testimonials just for that particular course. It's unbelievable. It has all 5-star reviews. And so you get that course free when you invest in the Essential Techniques course. So just wanted to mention that for you guys, that we have that resource available for you at guitar-Zoom.com. Okay, John Phillips, holding the pick and angle of it.
Yeah, and I see there's a few other people that have asked about this too, but basically with holding the pick, and again, I think we talked about this in the first session too, and of course we talk about it in the course, but the big thing is understanding that there's 2 different angles and it's different for everybody. The first thing to understand is that your guitar is probably already at an angle, unless you're playing absolutely straight across like this. The guitar is already angled. So when you grab that guitar pick and you go to start playing, you have to decide at what angle you want to be at from here, moving from left to right. And you also have an angle of moving up and down. And again, many times people might tell you there's only one right way to do this. And to be honest, the only right way to do it is the way that feels best to you, that works for whatever situation you find yourself in. But understand, the more you turn the pick, the benefit is the easier it is to get through the string because you'll slide through. The downside is you're going to miss that percussive element when you angle it too much. Now, again, it depends on what it is that you're trying to do. You might need to angle it to slide through a certain lick that you're trying to play, right? And you might want to flatten it out a little bit for more aggressive picking. Whatever it is you might be doing, to flatten it out and get a little bit more of that percussive element. So you have to think about those 2 things. As you start learning to play patterns that move like up the guitar that way, okay, then you start thinking not only of this angle, but you start trying to figure out whether or not this angle, the up and down angle, is going to benefit you. Right? And after a while, I mean, I've been doing this so long that it all just kind of happens for me, but there was certainly a time when I had to sit and think about how I was going to approach that. But it all comes from thinking about, as I said before, you got to slow everything down and you got to think about your approach, your attack, the sound that you're making, how it feels. And those things can't happen when you're just trying, again, I always think it's like being chased by a rabid dog or something. It's just fight or flight at that point. You're just running as fast as you possibly can. You're not concentrating on anything except surviving. With guitar playing, we really don't have to think of it that way unless maybe we're scared on stage or something like that. But, it's slowing everything down, slowing down the whole process, learning to relax and learning to isolate the elements that we're trying to do and really develop those to automation so we don't think about them anymore.
So I want to answer a really quick question that dang it, these things keep, they're coming in so fast. I can't. Anyway, let's see. I found, this is from YouTube user. It's from Ty. He says, what should I practice every day? I'm confused and I don't know what to do. And before you jump in, Steve, I just want to mention that Steve and I talked about this years ago about as guitar players, as musicians, no one really teaches you. They teach you theory, they teach you technique, they teach you whatever licks and like all this stuff, but no one actually teaches you how to practice. Like, what should your daily practice routine look like? And Steve created an entire course. So it's called the Ultimate Practice Routine. It's an entire course dedicated to that exact issue. So if you're having that problem of like, man, I sit down, I just noodle around, I feel like I get up and I don't make any progress, that is the course that you want to get. It's called the Ultimate Practice Routine, and that's available at GuitarZoom. But Steve, if you wanted to try to answer that maybe quickly here, you could as well.
Yeah, I mean, the most important thing is that just about everybody on here has a different practice routine, right? It depends on what it is you're trying to do. And that's part of the first battle into this guitar funnel when you first start learning how to play is what am I supposed to be doing? What am I supposed to be working on? And what I have found that works really well is if you start trying to play, and again, you always have to remember to keep the realm of realism around your head, right? We all want to be really good at whatever, or we all want to succeed at whatever, and that's all wonderful. But my job is to try and teach people about small wins, tiny steps of success, right? And those tiny steps can lead to whatever it is you want, but it has to start with something real. Otherwise, what we do is we get frustrated and we go, well, I can't do this, or I'll never get to whatever. You have to take small pieces. So if you start with maybe just learning how to play some songs that you like that sound like they are in the realm of where you are in your playing. If you listen to something and your brain is going, wow, that sounds like it's going to be a lot, I'm not saying you shouldn't practice it. What I'm saying, though, is if every time you grab the guitar, you set yourself up for failure like that, you're going to get frustrated. So the first step into this is you've got to start learning to realize where you are in your playing and the things that you can and can't do, and try and find like-minded elements out there that fit into that space. Because, like, for instance, practicing songs that you like that fit into this realm, they're going to benefit you in multiple ways. They're going to benefit your ear. They're going to benefit your timing. They're going to benefit your technique. They're going to benefit your memorization skills. There's all kinds of things that it'll do to benefit you. And also, as you start learning songs, it starts dialing in your knowledge of you and what you can and can't do on the guitar. Then that kind of leads it out of this little funnel we've created here into, okay, so I need to work on my picking more, or I need to work on my alternate picking more, or I need to work on my timing more, or I need to work on listening skills a bit more. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I'm saying when you listen to a song, knowing where you are, there's all kinds of places that those things can lead you to. But if you refer to those things from a realistic perspective of playing some songs, at least that's a great way to enter this realm. Because if you just go, well, I'm supposed to work on scales, and I'm supposed to work on theory, and I'm supposed to work on technique, and I'm supposed to work on this, why are you supposed to do that? Like, who said you're supposed to do that? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. If it's not fitting into where you are in your playing and who you're trying to be, again, not you 20 years from now, but you today, so tomorrow you can have a small element of success, right? Or next week, there's something tangible that you now have realized that works better for you. If that makes sense, that's kind of the way I would describe that.
Yes. Awesome. You have another question, or do you want me to feed you one?
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm actually looking at the big list.
Okay, so I got one here. And then
go ahead, man.
So I've got one that says pinch harmonics are not happening. How can I get them? Well, pinch harmonics really occur. I'm going to get this out of the way so you can see. Pinch harmonics really occur with the guitar pick. When I was first learning how to do pinch harmonics, and I'm going to add a little distortion here just so it sounds a little more Zach Wild. Okay, pinch harmonics, I always thought it was something to do with the way that they did vibrato and stuff like that, and it's not. It has everything to do with just angling the guitar pick. So if you think about it, if I just take this note right here, now listen, as I turn the pick this way, so there's two things happening. Number one, as I turn the pick, my thumb is, as I pick through with the guitar pick, of course the pick is angled at this point, my thumb is the last thing to touch that string. The thumb is what causes the harmonic. The flesh of my thumb is literally what's causing that harmonic. And the second thing is, depending on where you are on that string, this direction, you're going to get different harmonics. And some of them are going to be more prominent, and those are the ones you want to find. Again, your guitar, your pickups, your tone, all those things are going to make a difference. But if I do this, you'll notice there's different sounds. So what I do is find where it's most comfortable. To grab one, and I'm adding vibrato and things like that, but I don't need to. It just sounds way cooler, right? But it's literally just turning the pick. I'm not pushing hard or anything like that. I'm literally just turning it. The pick is causing the harmonic. And again, I'm finding where the best place to be to get that sound. Next time on the Steve Stine Guitar Podcast.
Kim Wrinkle asks, She says, any main differences in specific technique between acoustic and electric? My first electric arrives November 1st, and it's a Stratocaster. Congratulations, Kim, on your new guitar.
Yeah. There are most certainly differences in techniques. I mean, you can do a lot of the same things, but it all depends on how the guitar is set up. When people ask me if I play both acoustic and electric, of course I play both. But I am an electric guitar player by nature, right? Where Michael Hedges is more of an acoustic guitar player, or Tommy Emmanuel is an acoustic guitar player by nature. It's not that I don't love acoustic. I love acoustic, but I've just, look at me for God's sakes. I grew up with an electric guitar. So electric is what I think about. So when I grab an acoustic, there are things that I'll relax on in terms of my playing, but oftentimes I like my acoustic to feel a lot like my electric, because I still want to be able to play a lot of the things that I do on an acoustic, right? But in acoustic, you're not dealing with, the strings tend to be thicker, the scale tends to be shorter, right? You're not dealing with 24 frets, that sort of thing. Obviously, the tone is different. An acoustic guitar is way more dynamic, in terms of volume and all those sorts of things. It's a beautiful instrument for that. But electric guitar, oftentimes we have distortion and things like that can make a difference. So fundamentally, they are the same thing. But realistically, you approach them a little bit differently. And even if you try to approach them exactly the same, you're not going to be able to play exactly the same way on both instruments.
Right.
Hey, Steve Stine here from guitarzoom.com, and thank you so much for listening to this podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, can I ask you a favor? Please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend. Your feedback means more to me than you'll ever know. And be sure to check out my YouTube channels, where you'll find over 1,000 videos to help you with your guitar playing. Thanks again for listening. Stay positive, keep playing, and keep having fun.
If you'd like some help with your guitar playing but you're not sure how to get started, go to guitarzoom.com and look for the Help Me Choose survey. By answering a few simple questions, you'll get Steve's personal recommendation of the perfect course for you. All this and more is available for you at guitarzoom.com.